Dudes. We got another week of the CIL here. It's going to come a little out of order. This is actually our week 3. Our week 2 is in like an hour from now. So I thought I'd hurry up and get my post-com for week 3 in. We're playing the Rapidash, as you can see on the screen there, against our good friend Craig. He's packing the Mega Altaria, Heatran, Toxapex, Hydreigon, Scizor, Gourgeist, Hawlucha, Mudsdale, Togedemaru, Celebi, Aurorus, and he actually doesn't have Fighting MZ this week. He has Fire MZ. Because we have so many people behind the spreadsheet. If you're in the CIL, you know why we're doing it. But he's got Fire MZ, which could be not a huge problem, but it could be a problem for like Excadrill or Scolipede or just getting a huge hit off on like Cletus or Tornadus or even Hippowdon. So we don't have that many great fire resists besides Manaphy, to be honest. So it could be a problem. It might not be. He does have the Heatran, which could definitely make use of it. The Hydreigon could make use of it. So we're gonna do our best to not give him a chance to use it. And in doing so, we're gonna go hard sand. We got Big Mamapotamus this week, rocking the smooth rock, pun not intended. Earthquake, Toxic, Slack off, Whirlwind. I don't want anything like Hawlucha getting behind a sub, which is why there's the Whirlwind. Toxic. You guys know, like Toxic, it covers a lot of options. Like if they're gonna switch into something that might be able to take the Earthquake, like Hydreigon or something, I can predict that. Because I don't expect like a Toxapex to stay in on Big Mama here. I mean, come on, look at that. Look at Big Mama. She's just ready to roll. Standard spread as far as EVs go. Nothing too fancy here. Max Fizdef was something I considered because Dragon Dance Altaria would wreck me. But yeah, I don't think it made too much of a difference as far as a 2-hit KO or Okos or anything. And just in case he runs special, I've seen Craig run Hyper Voice a few times. I wanted to have a little special bulk to take those hits a little better. And of course, you can't rock Hard Sand without Excadrill. Our Z move this week, as you can see, is Groundium Z, which is nice for Toxapex. Doesn't really matter for any of his other ground weak Pokemon because they're quad weak. So like Heatran and Togedemaru. Well, I guess Aurorus is not quad weak, but I really don't expect Aurorus to come to this game. Yes. So this is a very offensive Excadrill. You'll notice at this point that we have foregone hazard removal at this point. Rocks do not threaten me too much because, honestly, Kyurem's going to be the least important member of this team. I can see him bringing Toxic Spikes because it would be nice for wearing down Big Mama, Manaphy maybe even, or Kyurem. We do have the Scolipede, so I wasn't sure if he'd bring those or not because, I mean, Scolipede's going to get rid of him, so we'll see what he does. Earthquake, Iron Head, Airlace, Sword Stance. Airlace is for the Hawlucha and the Gourgeist. Hawlucha is actually a huge threat to our team. I was pretty nervous he's going to bring this. That was another reason I was considering Max Fizdef, Hippowdon, but it doesn't survive. Max Fizdef didn't survive anything that the spread I used didn't. We got the Sword Stance because he does have some crazy bulk here, and with Regenerator and stuff, he could switch around. Like Toxapex and Hydreigon have almost perfect synergy there, and Hydreigon and Scizor have really great synergy. So he's got a lot of opportunities to switch around and stall out my sand, which is partly why I thought Smooth Rock would be important. Groundium Z is there, just in case it's like Max Fizdef, Toxapex, and it takes those hits better than I thought it would. I honestly don't know. We got the Frosty back again for another one. He's rocking the Expert Belt this week. Ice Beam, Earth Power, Fusion Bolt, Roost. Life Orb was strongly considered. It was. In fact, I switched it, and then I switched it back to Expert Belt. I wanted to be able to bluff maybe a choice item in this case because Kyurem's going to hit his team pretty hard. Like, if you look at it, this coverage hits just about everything but the Scizor super effectively. And the Aurorus, but again. Oh, you know it does hit the Aurorus. Psych. Okay, so I can hit everything super effectively. Obviously, I'm not staying in on stuff like Hawlucha or Scizor, which is why you don't see HP Fire, which is why you see Roost instead. But, you know, we've got amazing offense and coverage. The speed creeps. I honestly don't know. Speed creeps something, though. Then we got Poseidon. Dazzling Gleam, Surf, Psychic, Tail Glow. The Dazzling Gleam is to help with Hawlucha and Altaria. We've got the Psychic for the Toxapex and Surf for just about everything else. The Celebi could be a problem to this set. We have seen in the past Mav used a Celebi to Assault Vest Celebi, Max Bedev, I think, to counter our Manaphy, but the set that we brought that week was the Calm Mind one, so it actually would have 1v1'd him. Yeah, nothing wild here, just boost and good coverage. Lil Cletus back in action. I believe this is her first week back in the game here for the Kinglers. She's got super standard spread. I honestly didn't count too much for her because I know that she's going to take pretty much everything except for stuff from like Toxapex, Heatran, and Scizor pretty well. She's going to help me deal with Hawlucha if I need to. We got Moonblast, Thunderwave, Softboil, Stealth Rock. She's our only really viable option for Stealth Rock this week because Big Mama and Excadrill need those moves that they have. Otherwise, they're in trouble. This is probably the most standard Cletus of all time, but I think it'll be useful. The Thunderwave could help with Altaria's getting out of hand. Maybe he's got a Scarf Hydreigon or a Scarf Heatran, which I can see him bringing. Could come in handy there. And finally, we have Z's, the Tornadus Therian with Assault Vest. This coverage is amazing. Look at this. Heat Wave, Sludge Bomb, HP Ground, and U-Turn. The Heat Wave hits Scizor and Gourgeist and Celebi when I decide not to U-Turn on Celebi, of course. The Sludge Bomb hits Mega Altaria, and I think that's it. It could hit the Celebi too, I guess. The HP Ground covers... His team's pretty ground weak. Granted, he has good switches like Mudsdale. Mudsdale can take on Hippowdon with Earthquakes and stuff. That's another reason I was rocking Toxic, by the way. But the HP Ground is so that Heatran can't just wall this set. And again, I could U-turn and pivot out of it, but I like the idea of a sneaky HP Ground in this matchup because Heatran could cause some problems. So I feel that going into the matchup, there's really nothing he can lead that is really going to scare out my Tornadus, because if he leads, like, I guess if he led Hawlucha could be kind of scary since I'm not packing the flying coverage, but everything else I can pretty much U-turn out on. If it's Scarf, most of his attackers are special. We happen to have an Assault Vest. We'll get a lot of intel from that right there. U-turn out and, figure out what we need to do from there. So without further ado, we're going to get into the game. And like I said, I'm going to lead the Tornadus. He's going to lead, what does he lead? Gourgeist? He leads Squashula the Gourgeist. Immediately finds out I have the Assault Vest. Not a good situation for him because he knows that I probably packed the flying coverage, but that's not what I went for here. I went for the Heat Wave because I don't have it, and it was max special attack Tornadus. That Heat Wave crit did not matter, I promise you. Unless he was Assault Vest, but even then I think he takes it. Goes into Toxapex. Toxapex is a pretty solid response. We do have the HP Ground, but it's not going to do much. And as I would later find out, this is a Spadef Toxapex. I knew that was an option, but I thought Fizdef made more sense. So we U-turn out into Hippowdon. I thought it'd be nice to get some nice damage off if he stayed in. I could Toxic the Hydreigon or the Altaria and start wearing those things down if I need to. But he does stay in. We get off a huge hit with Earthquake. Big Mama, big damage. He goes for the Scald. Thankfully, we don't get burnt. Oof. That would have been frustrating, but since Big Mama's main point here is to set up sand, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, which is why I was willing to risk that. He goes out into Squash Shield to get his Regenerator. I could have predicted that, but I didn't want to over-predict. I think the last time Craig and I played, I think I was too aggressive with some reads, and it put me in a position where I could have very easily lost. I got into Z's here expecting like a grass move. He goes for the Rock Slide. Bold prediction right there. I applaud that. That was smart, because if I had stayed in, because I could take a Seed Bomb. If I had stayed in, I could have gotten a Toxic off or something. Anyway, going for the U-turn here because I didn't expect him to stay in after seeing the Heat Wave just blow back Scizor. U-turn out on the Toxapex. Excadrill can come in safely on the Toxic Spikes that the Toxapex set up earlier, and he's in trouble. Sand is up right now. I think we have 5 turns left at this point because remember we do have the smooth rock. He's gonna find out who has our Z move this week. Not that it matters. Spoilers, we never use it. I didn't feel comfortable with him having 2 immunities, 2 ground to switch in on it, and this resist. Like, it wouldn't have done that much if this is a physically defensive Gourgeist. So go for the Aerial Ace. He does go for the Seed Bomb. It does some pretty solid damage to us. I'm thinking this might be slightly more offensive, but the Aerial Ace did less than I thought also. So he's going to switch out, save Squashula for something. I could have gone for the Earthquake or the Iron Head here. I went for the Iron Head because I felt it hit everything. I didn't want him to get cheeky and like send in Hydreigon or something. So I went for the Iron Head. Got him down to 77%. Again, I don't know if he's Fizz-Def or Spadef. So if he's Fizz-Def, Earthquake doesn't KO from here. I don't want to risk the Skull Burn because Excadrill does so much. So I go into Kyurem. Kyurem, when I was looking at team preview, I was like, wow, Kyurem's probably going to be the least useful member of this team this game. So if I ever have to sack, I'm going to sack. I expect him to leave. And that's why I went for the Ice Beam there. It didn't work out for me. Luckily, we do have a little bit of bulk, if I remember right. Help take those Venishocks a little bit better since we are poisoned. But we are packing the Roost. And this is another reason I'm glad I didn't bring the Life Orb, because with Toxic Spikes and potential Scald Burns and things like that, we could have been worn down much more quickly. But Roost is actually going to be really, really useful as far as wearing down this Toxapex. You see, we get up to full. Even with the double damage from Venoshock, we're only taking 25%, plus the, 12% or whatever poison that goes up. Fusion Bolt is doing a pretty solid amount, so he can't just recover off everything. And since he's low and went for the T-Spikes there, maybe he thought I was going to Roost. I don't know. He does switch out here to get the Regenerator. I predicted it because wait, no, I'm thinking of later. Sorry, guys. I just go for the Fusion Bolt. One of the things I'm noticing is that he can stall me out of Fusion Bolts, and since they're doing so much, I'm guessing he's probably specially defensive. Here, I think the Earth Power caught him off guard. He probably thought I was just Bolt Beam, Roost, and maybe Substitute or something. I'm honestly not sure. Earth Power is relatively common coverage on Kyurem, I'd say. So it's sort of surprising to me that he would stay in. He sends out Toxapex, makes a very smart double here out into Squashula to get some Regenerator back. That's going to help him take on my Kyurem a lot better. I go for the Fusion Bolt. At this point, I've used like about half of them. So theoretically, it is possible for him to stall me out of the Fusion Bolts. Guessing that he's especially defensive from the damage, I'm kind of thinking I should be more conservative, which is why I Roost here, because I kind of expected him to switch. I also, I could have sacked Kyurem just to get momentum, but Kyurem's my sack, and he still puts in so much work. Like, look at this. Look at what's left. He's got Hydreigon, Toxapex, and Altaria at this point. I hit all of those. So I wanna see how much I can do with Kyurem here. Roost to get healthy, Fusion Bolt up. We're down to like 3 at this point, I believe. He recovers it off. No. I think we had 4 at this point. He recovers that off. He's at 81%, meaning he can live another one, but he won't live 2 more. Because as you'll see, this recover takes him up to... Oh, he Venishocks, that's right. He's down to 14%. If he would have recovered there, he could not have taken 2 more. But he Venishocks for damage. I almost Roost here. I almost did, but I want to preserve my Fusion Bolts regardless because I knew he's either switching or something. So I go for the Earth Power just in case he didn't switch out and predicted me to predict his switch. If that makes sense. He goes out into Hydreigon, who naturally outspeeds, and we're running a mild. We're running something special attack boosting. Fortunately, Cletus is a pretty safe switch in. He could have gone for Iron Tail there if he was packing it, and Cletus would have been in trouble. But we have a lot of checks to this now that his team's pretty weak. We can set up Sand, and Excadrill can essentially win by itself from here. He's packing an interesting Hydreigon set though. He's got Roost, he's got Dark Pulse, Superpower, and as we're seeing, we haven't seen the Superpower yet, but he's got Draco Meteor. So Cletus completely walls this guy. We're able to get up our rocks and paralyze it, which means Kyurem can now take it on as well. So Kyurem, I think Kyurem speed creeps Mega Altaria before a boost. So at this point, Kyurem can actually win by itself. I go for the Moonblast just for damage in case he decides to sag it, because it is paralyzed. It dies to pretty much everything. He does make a pretty solid play here going into Toxapex, knowing that he can do Toxapex stuff, man. He can throw off Venishocks. He can recover up. I go into Excadrill because I don't expect him to Scald Clefable. I expected a Venishock. We hit him up with the Earthquake. At this point, now if he would have gone into Hydreigon, since it's at full, Excadrill couldn't have KO'd it. But at this point, we can actually KO everything with Excadrill without Sand, unless he is Jolly or Timid Mega Altaria. There's the superpower I was talking about. So I don't have a problem using Excadrill without the Sand here. I don't need to set it up because of that Thunder Wave. But also, Clefable just kind of wins from here. He goes out into his Mega Altaria, which is already Mega. Mega Altaria is not going to take 2 Moonblasts. Hydreigon's definitely not taking a Moonblast. And little Cletus here is just going to clean up, doing what she does best, winning games for the Kinglers and no one else. Get a crit there. That would have been nice the turn before. And we are going to actually manage to pull off the 6-0 win. Craig, this is one of those games. So this is our second 6-0 in a row because of that EBC game. Both times, I feel that my opponents played really, really well. And it just came down to a matter of having a really favorable matchup in terms of build. We had a lot of great offense against his team, which does have really good synergy, but the things that I have that hit him, like, for instance, the Tornadus, it has so much coverage. The Kyurem has so much coverage. There's not a whole lot defensively he could have done about that. And he made some really great reads, like the Rock Slide on the Tornadus switch, leaving Toxapex in to take an Ice Beam, and then wearing down Kyurem and stuff. I feel that he played really, really well. So while we did get the 6-0, it wasn't as crazy as it looks on paper. Hats off to Craig for playing a great game. He had some pretty solid prep there. I think losing Scizor early was really detrimental for him, because Scizor, look what Scizor does to my team. Like, aside from Hippowdon, which it could set up on, Excadrill, which depending on its build it might be able to set up on, but we can see we also had the Sword Stance too. But if he had superpower and went for it, Scizor could have done a lot to us. We would have been in trouble. That's partly why Manaphy was so important. And yeah, so I'm going to stop talking. That's a long enough post-com. Thank you so much for watching. This has been CIL Week 3. We have Week 2 coming up next, because we do stuff out of order. We're casual, man. Come on. We'll be playing them in about 40 minutes or so. So there might be 2 uploads today. We'll see. All right, y'all. Thanks again for watching, and have a good one.